News about food safety can be hard to keep straight. Take aspartame, the artificial sweetener that's been around for decades. It was headline news this summer when the World Health Organization said aspartame could possibly cause cancer in humans, although the U.S. Food and Drug Administration disagrees. Pushback quickly popped up on social media, much of it from dietitians. But their posts didn't make clear that they were being paid by the American Beverage Association, a lobbying group whose members include Coca-Cola and Pepsi, both marketers of products containing aspartame. It's just one of the instances uncovered by a joint investigation by the Washington Post and the nonprofit newsroom The Examination, which specializes in public health around the world. Washington Post health columnist Enahad O'Connor worked on the investigation. Tell us the scope of what you found. How widespread is this?
Yeah, so we analyzed thousands of posts on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook that were posted by registered dietitians and found that it's actually quite common for them to post ads on behalf of food companies, beverage companies, and dietary supplement companies. And in many of these ads and posts, we were quite surprised to see dietitians promoting and defending artificial sweeteners, encouraging people to eat ice cream and candy and other junk foods and dietary supplements, and just basically promoting advice that runs counter to decades of scientific research on proper nutrition.
Obviously, the food and beverage industry has been around for a long time, and they've been trying to influence what people eat and drink for a long time. How is this different?
So what we found is that the food industry is really turning to social media because it's a very effective way of getting their message across to consumers. There are many influential dietitians on TikTok and Instagram who have very large followings, and people who follow them develop what are called parasocial relationships with them. They're very trusting of them because they're following them day in and day out. For example, compared to the advice from a large faceless organization. But we found that the food industry oftentimes will pay dietitians to promote industry-friendly messages and promote their products and promote this advice to eat foods. That's pretty surprising.
Does the professional organizations of the dietitians, do they have anything to say about this?
So the Academy has a code of ethics that says that dietitians should always disclose conflicts of interest and that they should refrain from accepting gifts or partnerships that can influence their professional judgment. But so far, to our knowledge, the Academy has not penalized any dietitians for this sort of activity on these social media sites.
And what does the food and beverage industry say? Well, how do they justify this?
So they say that they pay these dietitians because they are credentialed experts, and that in many cases they disclose that they're engaged in paid partnerships. But oftentimes, what we found is that it's very difficult for consumers to know when the videos they're watching posted by these particular dietitians are ads, because they may say, paid partnership down at the bottom of the video in very small letters, or it may say hashtag ads somewhere buried in the caption. But in the video itself, there are no audible disclosures, and they may not say the specific company or industry that is paying them. So on these posts where dietitians were paid by the American Beverage Group to promote and defend artificial sweeteners, oftentimes they did not say that specifically that they were paid by this industry trade and lobbying group.
The Federal Trade Commission polices false claims on labels, in ads, and so forth. Do they have any power over this?
So the experts we talked to said that this social media landscape is really the Wild West. There are countless influencers who are posting thousands, if not millions, of videos a day, and the FTC does try to regulate and monitor. It definitely requires influencers to disclose when they're being paid to promote products, but it's very difficult for them to regulate and to monitor this activity. And they occasionally bring cases, but it's very few and far between.
What prompted you to look into this?
So the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is the group that oversees dietitians, they've been criticized for years for their ties to big food companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Hershey. They've taken millions of dollars in donations from these companies, and they've even allowed food companies to provide continuing education courses to their dietitians, which they've had faced a lot of criticism for. But we wanted to look at the very influential dietitians on social media with large followings to see, is the advice that they're giving people influenced at all by the food industry. And we were very surprised. We found, dozens of these posts, these paid advertisements, essentially thinly veiled advertisements. We found 35 videos in which dietitians and health influencers were paid by the soda industry to, defend aspartame and other artificial sweeteners and criticize the World Health Organization for its recommendations.
You say it's hard to tell these things, that they're ads. What advice do you give people? What should they look for?
So I think consumers have to be very skeptical. If you see a dietitian or someone else, promoting advice that sounds dubious or sounds questionable, you should, wonder or check, is this essentially a thinly veiled ad? Is this person being paid to push an industry-friendly message to me?
Anahad O'Connor, a health columnist for the Washington Post. Thank you very much.
Thank you.